Most people don't even realize it, but the death of Jesus wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a series of events so supernatural, so powerful, that it felt like the entire universe just stopped to watch. And no, we're not talking about metaphors or religious symbolism. We're talking real stuff, witnessed, recorded, in front of crowds, things that shattered logic, broke religious norms, and shook even the hardest hearts. There are folks who live their faith only up to Golgotha. They stop at the cross. But what happened after? That's where the real spiritual mystery begins. Because the moment Jesus gave up his spirit, creation reacted. Tombs cracked open, the temple veil tore down the middle, and even a Roman soldier, someone used to blood and death, was hit with a divine awareness that changed everything. It's like heaven itself was saying, from now on, nothing will ever be the same. Truth is, none of those signs were random. They were spiritual codes, left there by God to open our eyes. You know when something weird happens in your life, and deep down you just know there's more going on than meets the eye. That's not just a gut feeling, that's spiritual awareness. And when you start to see with the eyes of faith, you realize it wasn't just a man dying, it was all of heaven shaking things up. Picture this, Jesus breathes his last, and the ground starts shaking like crazy. We're not talking about a little tremor, the earth literally quaked. But it wasn't just the dirt beneath their feet. It was the whole structure of creation feeling the impact of that moment. It was as if the universe itself shouted, something huge just went down. You can't look at that and call it coincidence. That was God using nature itself to scream a spiritual truth. And that earthquake, it wasn't just some natural disaster, it was a symbolic crack in the old world. Just like a house shows cracks when its foundation is falling apart. This was the old system collapsing and a new covenant being born. And honestly, we can relate. Sometimes when God allows our life to shake, it's not to destroy us. It's to tear down what's been spiritually limiting us. Even the rocks split open. Rocks, the symbol of stability and strength, literally cracked. What looked unshakable couldn't stand in the presence of Jesus' sacrifice. That's why spirituality also means knowing when God's calling you to break away from things that feel normal, but have kept you stuck, disconnected from your true purpose. And here's the wild part. That quake reminds us that God's power doesn't always show up in silence. Sometimes it comes with noise, disruption, and discomfort. Spirituality isn't always peaceful, it's transformational. And when creation tears, it's a sign that something way deeper is about to be revealed. While the earth was still shaking, something even more shocking happened. Tombs opened, and many saints were raised from the dead. Yeah, the dead came back to life, not like horror movie zombies, but as a divine sign that even death had lost its grip. This wasn't just a supernatural show, it was God answering loud and clear. Jesus just conquered the impossible. Can you even imagine the impact of seeing someone you buried walking through the streets of Jerusalem? People must have been freaking out, but behind the shock was a deep spiritual message. With Jesus, even what seemed lost can come back to life. That applies to old dreams, a forgotten faith, broken relationships. God's power is about resurrecting what felt dead. This bizarre and glorious scene shows that the spiritual isn't abstract, it's real. It crashes into ordinary life with something extraordinary. How many times have you felt like something inside you just died? Your joy, your courage, your strength? Well, God's power can bring those parts back to life in real and visible ways. And get this, all of that happened while the earthquake was going down. So while everything looked like it was falling apart, God was also restoring. That paradox? That's where true spirituality lives. When the world's falling, heaven is rising. And spoiler, this won't be the last time the dead rise in his presence. The very moment Jesus breathed his last, the veil in the temple, the one that separated the holiest place, tore from top to bottom. Not from the bottom up like some human could have done, from top to bottom, like God himself grabbed it and ripped it open. And what does that mean? That the wall between humanity and the divine was gone. Up until then, only the high priest could enter that space, and just once a year. But now, because of Jesus' sacrifice, access to God became personal, direct, intimate. No more official gatekeepers. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to quote a bunch of verses. The invitation is wide open, and that changes everything. Your spirituality doesn't need performance. It needs awareness. Think of it this way. It's like the vault door to something sacred flew open, and God was like, "Come on in, child. This is yours now." It means you can pray freely, walk in confidence, and know heaven's strength is with you. You can talk to God from your room, in traffic, in the middle of chaos. There's no veil anymore. The temple, it's your own heart now. And here's something else. The torn veil wasn't just heaven reacting to Jesus' death. It was also a warning. The spiritual realm is about to move in ways you've never seen. And yep, there's still more to come. From noon to 3 p.m., a strange darkness covered the land. And no, it wasn't an eclipse. It was Passover, full moon season. So there was no natural reason for it. It was like the sky itself went into mourning. A heavy, cosmic silence, like the kind you feel deep in your soul when something serious is happening and you don't even have words for it. That darkness was the physical echo of a spiritual weight. Jesus was carrying guilt, pain, sin, all of humanity's brokenness. It wasn't just a man dying, it was the Redeemer stepping into the shadows to bring the light. And let's be real. How many times do we go through dark seasons where everything feels frozen, confusing, directionless? In those moments, God's silence isn't absence. It's mystery in motion. So many people think they've been abandoned during their own dark hour. But what if it's the opposite? What if that's exactly when spirituality is doing its deepest work behind the scenes? Just look at Job. He walked through pitch-black days and came out stronger, wiser, more aware. Sometimes it's in the darkness that your inner light finally wakes up. And that moment of darkness right before Jesus died, it wasn't just symbolic, it was setting the stage for something even greater. Because when night feels the heaviest, it usually means dawn is closer than you think. And right after that deep shadow, something unexpected happened. Amidst all the chaos, the quake, the darkness, the shouting, the death, a man who wasn't a disciple, wasn't Jewish, wasn't even religious, looked at the cross and said, "Surely this was the Son of God." A Roman centurion, a guy trained to kill, a man used to violence and execution, and yet standing in front of Jesus, even his hardened heart was cracked open. That confession, it's one of the most powerful moments in the New Testament. Why? Because it shows that true spirituality goes beyond labels, beyond religion, beyond rituals. God reaches whoever he wants, wherever they are. And sometimes the people we least expect are the ones most open to divine awareness. Ever think about that? That maybe even that co-worker, the skeptic, might be closer to God than they realize? And here's the kicker. That centurion didn't take a theology class, didn't memorize scripture, didn't go through any ceremony. He just saw, felt, and knew. That right there shows that the power of Jesus speaks straight to the spirit. It's not about how you look, it's about what you recognize. We overcomplicate what God made simple. The power is in the truth revealed, and that truth hits even the people on the wrong side of the story. And that's what makes this even more incredible. Because if a Roman soldier trained to kill could recognize Jesus' divinity at the foot of the cross, imagine what can happen when you start seeing with the eyes of faith. I mean, if even death had to bow before him, what do you think happens when you step into the power he left for you? So now that you've seen these 5 supernatural signs that followed Jesus' death, let me ask you, how many times have you felt inner quakes and didn't realize God was tearing down spiritual veils inside of you? How many dark moments have you mistaken for abandonment when it was really heaven working behind the scenes? Have you been ignoring the spiritual signs God's placing right in front of you? Maybe it's time to stop looking only with your natural eyes and start activating your spiritual awareness for real. Jesus didn't die just for history. He died to transform your story. And if even a Roman centurion could recognize that, what's holding you back? If any part of this message stirred your heart, made you pause, or gave you a new perspective, then it already did its job. But don't stop here. Let's go deeper together. Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, and share this video with someone who needs a spiritual wake-up call, because what starts with awareness ends in transformation.